Let's talk about the emerging medicinal cannabis sector. The current lack of clinical evidence, of course, limiting patient access both in Australia and around the world. Emerald Clinic's trying to do something about that. Michael Winlow is CEO and joins us now. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Very exciting time for you guys too, talking about an IPO.
Absolutely, yeah. So let me tell you about Emerald Clinics and what we do. And so Emerald operates a network of medical clinics across Australia with two unique aspects to the way we've set things up. The first is that all of our patients are referred to us have unmet clinical needs, and that means that our clinicians have experience and comfort and knowledge and special training in the management and the prescribing of unregistered medications, which includes all of the growing universe of medicinal cannabis products now available in Australia. And so our patients have failed standard treatments, and that's why they're in our clinics. They're not getting improvement for their condition or their ailment, and that's why they're coming to us.
We have a look at the United States, where it's kind of this catch-22 situation where some states trying to make it legal, but of course these clinical trials have to be done in hospitals that are federalised, and of course you can't actually do it because of that.
Yes.
Do we have a similar issue in Australia? How are we currently operating when it comes to these clinical trials?
Yeah, well, as an unregistered medication, these products can be used in clinical trials. There aren't a lot of clinical trials currently running in Australia though. Our clinics offer an opportunity though, because the other unique aspect to our model is that we've set up our entire clinical experience to optimise the collection and the utility of the clinical evidence that we're collecting as part of our care. This helps us deliver better care for patients.
How do you do that?
So we have use a large suite of clinically validated assessments. Our clinical consultations are much longer than your typical consultation. We pay attention to a lot more of what's going on with the patient, so we can capture both the benefits and also importantly the side effects, of which there are many unknowns in that regard.
How many patients are we talking about that are part of these trials?
So, well, it's not part of a trial, really.
Right, okay.
The data we're collecting is known as real-world evidence, so it looks different to clinical trials in that we're very open with who we see. We allow our clinicians to practice according to the best available evidence, so there's a lot of discretion and flexibility in what we do.
Why did you get involved in this? What was the attraction for you?
Well, for me, I think standard clinical medicine has not done a great job of generating knowledge. It's very good at delivering care. Prior to Emerald, I was the CEO of a clinical trial unit, so we were really good at generating knowledge about products, but we weren't so good at delivering care. And Emerald's a chance
now you're trying to bring it together.
Both of those together, that's right.
And how's that gone so far?
Evidence generating care, we call it. It's gone really well. We've started from a standing still start. We've been open for 12 months in 4 clinics across Australia. We have almost 1,000 patients now involved in our study. We're seeing some really good data, and importantly, getting a lot of interest from producers and regulators and even payers in the data that we're collecting.
We hear the word medicinal cannabis, and I want to change not only because it's hard to say,
yes,
but also it comes with such a stigma attached to it, particularly for a lot of conservatives who think that we're about to head back to Woodstock.
Yes.
How are you going with trying to change that, do you think? How's the industry going in that regard?
Yeah, well, you're very correct in that it needs to be thought of as a medicine, and that means there'll be responders, there'll be non-responders, there'll be adverse events, there'll be dose response dynamics and all the other features of usual medicines. So we do need to treat it differently to say the recreational products. We call it cannabinoid-based medicines. I think that's a small improvement, but until we have that evidence, we're not going to get that widestream, mainstream.
So what is it that you see about Emerald in terms of being unique?
Right. What's really unique is the fact that we're 100% focused on the generation of that high quality clinical evidence, and we know that's going to have value to drug developers. It's also really important just for the safety and monitoring of the patients who have come in to our clinic who are on other medications, who have lots of other complications in their life. So it's really important from a care point of view, but also we know that the evidence we're collecting is of interest to regulators. Major regulators like the FDA are actively looking for data like what we're providing in the real world to complement data from clinical trials.
Tell us about your IPO.
So we've got pre-approval from the ASX. We're heads down in the due diligence, and in the coming weeks we'll have an announcement on the timing of the IPO.
Pretty exciting time for you though.
Yeah, we're really excited. Yeah, we can't wait to get going. The IPO is going to allow us to grow our clinics and improve our data model.
So tell us about Emerald in terms of where it's based in WA, is that correct?
We're headquartered in WA. Yep. Most of our founders are from there, but our board stretches across the world. We've got pharma executives, clinical trialists, medical experts from around the country involved in our project. We've got clinics in Perth, in Sydney, in Melbourne, and in
It seems to be
Northern
such an uphill battle, though, isn't it, when it comes to this? Why do you think it's so hard in terms of when we use the word cannabis?
Yes.
Obviously, straight away, it's controversial. Why do you think that is?
Well, look, there's been a long history of prohibition around cannabis. You could only get it from your dealer through illegal means, and so that clandestine sort of shroud is still sitting over the whole ecosystem. The people who are producing medicinal cannabis have not typically come from a traditional farmer, so they've approached the market with a different kind of attitude to typical drug development.
What do you mean?
We've seen the producers shift from, say, recreational products in those states and countries where that's been legal, and then claiming medicinal benefits for their products as well. But they haven't gone to the trouble of doing the clinical trials that we typically expect of new drugs.
So it's kind of a little bit like social media influencers. They kind of caused a lot of trouble for their own industry at the beginning, and now everyone's having to kind of wear the I guess what happened from that.
Yeah, I think that analogy is probably true. What we are seeing though is these companies are maturing in their approach. They're being more deliberate. The FDA is stepping in. It's getting very strict about producers who are making claims on their products without the evidence to show for it. So we're seeing a greater interest in the evidence we're producing and a greater interest in running those trials to remove that clinical apprehension that sits over the space right now, which we believe needs to be lifted.
Thank you so much. Good luck with the IPO.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate
Thanks for
your time
having
today.
me. Yeah. Appreciate